Hey friends, Kevin here, and today I'm going to answer a question that comes up all the time. And that question is, how much do I need to spend on my minivan or camper van build? So I'm going to break this down into a series of videos. What you can realistically have if you're spending $200 on your build, what you can have if you're spending $500 on your build, and what you can have if you're spending $1,000 on your build. Can you have what you need to go on the road only spending $200? You can. And here are the things you're going to need and why you're going to need or want to have these things. Now, I'm not going to get into pots and pans and spatulas and yes, you need a spoon and a fork, because I assume you already have those things. And if for some reason you don't, you can stop into a dollar store or a Goodwill and you can pick those things up for just a couple of dollars. So we're not going to get into things like that. We're going to cover the necessities that you're really going to need in order to be able to camp on the road or possibly live in your vehicle on the road. You can do it for less than $200. Here's how. The first thing is you're going to need a place to sleep. And that's not going to give you a lot of options in this total $200 build range, but there are options. And here's the first one. For about $30, you can end up with this really nice cot, kind of like an army cot. Is this going to be preferred if you're trying to do this 365 days a year? No. But in this price range, or if you're just trying this out on weekends and doing some short trips, something like this may be absolutely perfect for you. The other option would just be to use a $30 sleeping bag. The problem with doing a minivan build or a cargo van build, if you have a sleeping bag, you have it directly on the floor, is it cuts out your storage space. So you want to get up in the air a little bit, like with this cot, so you have some storage space underneath. So I would spend the first $30 or so of that $200 on this. The next thing you're going to need is a way to cook. And the way you're going to do that is with a propane stove. Now you can get a 1-burner stove or a 2-burner stove like you see me use in videos. Some people prefer the little ones. I don't. I would rather have the 2-burner stove because quite honestly, it really doesn't take up much more space. And it gives you a little more flexibility when you're cooking and you have 2 burners available instead of 1. So you'd say you're doing breakfast and you're trying to do water for coffee on, this with 2 burners, you can be doing that on 1. You can be doing your breakfast stuff on the other. It just speeds things up. So to me, a 2-burner stove is worth it. The cost is virtually the same. You can pick one of these up like this Coleman one around $35. The next thing you're going to need is something to cool your food. Now, obviously, if we're only doing a $200 van build, you're not going to have refrigeration. But you can get by, especially on short trips or just starting out, you can get by with an ice chest. And you don't need one of these $400 Yeti things that some people claim work, some people claim don't. You don't. You just need a decent chest like this. And this thing can be picked up for about $20. It's going to give you enough room for your food and drinks and a bag of ice. That's really all you need. You can get by for a day or two with a bag of ice with one of these in most climates, most times of the year. Now, I recommend that everyone have some type of bathroom available. Even if you're new to this and you may be thinking, well, I can always just stop somewhere and run in a store or run in a restaurant, or I'm going to be in a campground a lot of times and there's going to be facilities there. You can't always count on those things being open, and you're going to run into situations when you're living or camping in a van that you're going to hit bad weather. And let's say you need to go to the bathroom at 2 o'clock in the morning, even if you're in a campground and the bathhouse is a football field away from you and you're in the middle of a driving torrential rainstorm. So you may not want to get out in that situation. You want to have the ability to do this. You want to have the ability to do this if you were to get sick. It's just a matter of convenience. And it's not very much. And for about $30, you can get into this type of a bucket toilet system. Now, with our $200 build, you're going to need lights. you're going to need some extra lights inside your van, and you're going to need some lights outside the van, and I'll explain why in a second. So what you're going to do is you're going to spend about 15 bucks on a light like this. I did a whole video on this, by the way. You can check that out. I'll link that down below, along with me linking all of these products we're talking about, so you can go check the current price on Amazon. But this light is going to work for hours and hours and hours just charging up off of USB. It's really simple. But in the event of emergency that you've run out of power, this particular light has a crank. So you can crank this thing for about a minute and you can get 10 or 15 minutes of light out of it. So it's the perfect thing to have in your vehicle. It's the perfect thing to use every night. That brings us up to some outside lights. And I like these types of little rechargeable lights. You can use tape, you can use just a little piece of Velcro, and you can have one in the front, you can have one on each side, one on the back of your van from a little 4-pack of these lights. So they're solar, you're going to charge them during the day, and when it gets late in the evening, you're going to then slap these on all 4 corners, basically, of your van. These are motion activated, so they're not going to be on unless someone or something walks up on you. Or you need to get out of your van in the middle of the night, and when you go to open the door, that motion is going to trigger this light, so you can see what is out there before you get out of your van. Simple solutions are the best. That brings us up to staying clean. And while there's different things you can do on the road, and again, you're thinking, hey, well, I hit a lot of state parks and different things, you know, especially starting out, I'm going to have facilities. You can't always count on that. Sometimes you're going to get to a place and the facilities are going to be frozen up in the wintertime, or they're going to be broken. There's going to be some type of water issue. There's just all kinds of things that can happen, so you want to be able to clean up on your own. And while people use little baby wipes and different things to freshen up, you can only do that so long. You're going to need to take a shower at some point. So of our $200 budget, we're going to spend about $40 of it on a shower. Now, I did this video on how to make a shower out of a pump-up sprayer. That's the system I use in the minivan. It works great for us. The other option now that I might consider would be this basically rechargeable unit. So you drop one end down in your bucket of water, turn it on, it runs the water up, sprays out the shower head, so you can have yourself a shower. And you can do this almost no matter where you are. So you can, you know, whatever town you're in the middle of nowhere probably has some little city park. You can run over to the park. There's not going to be anybody hardly around there in the day. You can do your little shower thing in a couple of minutes. You can be clean and fresh on the road. So if you add all of these things up, that comes to about $190. For the extra $10, you can pick up 1 or 2 little crates, to, you know, storage units, just to store little things that you have that you're going to need. But we're keeping things simple, and this proves you can do this on that little amount of money. And for someone starting out that has no experience with this, it's absolutely perfect. This is everything you need. The only things you need really to get your feet wet in doing camping trips or even doing van life. Because for less than $200, we have taken care of toilet issues and shower issues and cooking issues and having a place to store food and keep food cold. And those are the main things that you need, the basic necessities, in order to do whatever form of van life you want to try out with your minivan or your camper van. Now, of course, all this assumes that you're going to be doing this in a kind of moderate climate. You know, if you're going to be in the extreme heat or you're going to be in the extreme cold, then you're going to have some other issues to deal with. But most people aren't going to be doing this starting out in one of these extreme areas. But if you are, there's other videos on other ways to handle those problems. And I want to hear down in the comments, do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do you agree with these things that I've mentioned as far as being able to cover all of the basics and do a $200 basic minivan or camper van build out? This is even a no build type thing in that you don't have to construct any furniture to do this. There's nothing you have to build. You don't have to build shelving. You don't have to rip the walls and the ceiling out. It's the very basics to do what you need and make you comfortable on the road. And in the next part of the series, we'll move on up the food chain and talk about what you can have for $500 if you have that to put into your build, and then $1,000 if you have that to put in your build. And we'll talk soon.